Hello, Sagittarius, and welcome to your, we'll call it bi-weekly reading for the new moon to the full moon. And we have a different reading this time. Normally, these readings are from new to full or full to new, are about 5 to 8 minutes long, but we've got some significant, notable astrology happening, and I want to make sure that we are taking some time with that, getting a few extra cards so that we can check out what spiritual advice, get a little extra spiritual advice for you. So this is for a collective reading for sun or rising Sagittarius. So sun or rising sign. All right, sun or rising. So it's an interesting, nope, not that one. Okay. I almost felt it. I almost felt it. You guys know me by now. If you've been watching me for a little bit, I'm like, I will wait until the right one comes through. That's pretty beautiful. Really love that. Okay. So we're also going to pull for some spiritual advice. Which deck am I feeling? Let's go here. All right. So we have an eclipse that's happening, a solar eclipse with the new moon on the 19th, and then a couple of days later on the 21st of April we have Mercury going retrograde. Actually, I was feeling this card here. Okay, and then we'll pull one more card, so I'll get into the explanation of these cards. Just one more for here. Okay. Interesting so far, Sagittarius. I say that a lot, don't I? Interesting. All right, so let's get into it. Let's start with one card and then I'll talk about the astrology just a little bit. Again, these are a little bit longer, this particular phase, because we've got a lot to discuss. So I'm going to try to get through it as quickly as we can. So sticking with this particular deck so that we can really focus on the reading and what it relates back to in terms of like a theme or a specific area of life, just to help with the fact that it's a collective reading, right? So obviously it's not going to hit for every single Sagittarius sun or rising out there. So if this feels like it resonates with you, awesome, it's your message this month. If it doesn't, if it's not really feeling quite right, you're like, nah, I'm not resonating with any of that, then if this is your sun sign, check out your rising and vice versa. Honestly, if you really want to get like super specific, I'm open for doing private readings, and that information is down below in the description box. So without further ado, let's get into it. So what we have showing up here is Venus. I love this. I love that we've got some Venus energy because, man, so Venus is not just about love, although most people think about like love when it comes to Venus. Yes, it can be about the way that we love or the way that we want to receive love, but this is also more deeply about relating, and it's about our values, and it's about also finances, like the finer things and also finances. So think about that. Beauty, like art is also beauty, nature is also beauty, right? So but like things that feel aesthetically pleasing. So we're thinking about Venus, we're thinking about luxury, beauty, finances, what we value in like our personal values, what we value in the world with other people, in different contexts, like what is our value system, right? And also, yeah, it can be about our relationships and the harmony between us and in our relationships, right? So thinking about that, right? So Venus rules Taurus and Libra. You can think about how it pulls from those themes as well. So that's what we have for the overall theme. I'm loving this mainly because it's really nice to bring in some Venus energy with what we've got going on. So I have a shadow card that I'm pulling here. Let me just explain really quickly why I decided to pull a shadow card and some spiritual advice. So this is the first of 2 eclipse seasons that we have for the year, right? Eclipses can feel really intense. A lot of people are like, uh-oh, eclipse season, oh no. While it can bring in a lot of things, it's like tide. It brings things in and it pushes things out. So it's this like ebb and flow that is happening, right? And we don't know necessarily what it's going to be. It's kind of like, just sit back and enjoy the ride. like be in a flow as much as possible, because we don't really know. This particular new moon solar eclipse is happening on the 19th at 9:13 p.m. Pacific time, so adjust for your time zone, and it's happening in Aries in the tropical astrology, and also in Aries in sidereal. So that is not super common. A lot of times it's like that overlap is not always there. Often they are apart by one sign. So to have them both be in Aries is like, I feel very punctuated, and definitely something to pay attention to. That feels more congruent, like the energy feels more pure and aligned to me, right? That's my take on it. So that's what we have. We have all of this, like this combustible, fiery like energy, this cardinal like burst forth kind of energy that we have with Aries, right? So it can be really activating. Just so you guys know, I'm going to be putting out a reel. I'll see if I can put it in the community tab on YouTube, but I'm going to be doing it on Instagram, so make sure you're following me over there, where I'm just going to explain how you can find what area of your life in your chart is being affected by the solar eclipse new moon, and then also for the Mercury retrograde that's happening, where in your life that's affecting it, right? So speaking of that, Mercury retrograde is happening a couple days later after that on April 21st at 1:35 a.m. Pacific, right? So, and that's going to be happening in Taurus in tropical astrology, and it's going to be happening in Aries in sidereal. So having this lovely Venus here, it feels really lovely to have that be part of the focus for you. Other things, so why am I choosing a shadow card? So typically with eclipses, we're having the light being eclipsed, right? Which means that it casts shadows. There are all of these shadowy things that start to kind of maybe be felt under the surface, the things we normally don't pay attention to or look at or try to sweep under the rug. This one in particular, especially because it's squaring Pluto. And so this square to Pluto is actually also, like, Pluto is also about, like, it's about the taboo and, like, you know, the occult and sex and death and all of these different things, but it's also about the shadowy aspects. It's about going deep, and it's also the place where we can tend to not want to look at things, like the things that feel grotesque or really intense for us, we can tend to like sweep under the rug and not want to look at. And so with that, because we all as human beings have shadows, we all have skeletons in our closet, even if you're a personal growth junkie, and like I mean that in the sweetest way, and you work with all of these, you know, different shadows of yours and have grown and done a lot, we still carry shadows and limiting beliefs. We still carry like a lot of things with us. There's a lot to work through as human beings. It's just part of what we're doing here, right? So I wanted to highlight one particular shadow theme that is coming through for this particular phase, from this new to full moon at the beginning of the eclipse season here that we have. The next eclipse is a lunar eclipse on May 5th. We'll get to that later, not in this video, but just to give you an idea. So that's why we're taking a look at like what shadow is coming up. Obviously, this isn't going to hit for every single Sagittarius sun or rising out there. So keep that in mind, right? This is a collective reading. And I think for most shadowy things, we can usually find where inside of ourselves we have some aspect of that or have worked with that most of the time, right? Just like saying that. So what is the card that we have showing up here for you? We have the child that I was meant to be. I feel like this has to do with some healing of the inner child and having to do with the past and any kinds of maybe regret. It's not exactly the word that I'm looking for, but maybe sadness or small grief around things that we wish we would have had in our growth, in our youth, right? Like in during that period of time, like the person we wish we could have been, the access to certain things or experiences that we wish we could have had, or maybe even different parents or siblings that we wish we could have had, right? And so it's just like the child I was meant to be, I feel like, is this really tender internal place that has to do with looking back at our childhood and saying, okay, like, there's some inner work to do here. Like there's something that, you know, I think for a lot of us, we can see where there are things that we grieved that we didn't get to have or we wanted as a, you know, as a child growing up, and that get mirrored, you know, those things get mirrored into our adulthood, right? And so that's what I see coming up here. And like what we have for your spiritual advice is, I think, a really appropriate card. We have the Knight of Cups. And the Knight of Cups, like all of the knights are all about action. They just all take action differently and in different areas. The Knight of Cups being around like emotion, intuition, right? That kind of emotive world. And the Knights are about movement, right? So you think about bringing those together, and this is about your spiritual advice with this is like move towards the things that bring you the emotions and the emotional or the emotive feelings like that you want to have, that you want to be experiencing in this world, right? Move towards what feels good. Move towards what feels healing. Move towards what feels heart opening. Move towards what feels however it is that you want to feel in life. Like be led by moving towards expanding and moving in the direction of the experiences, the people, the conversations, the projects, everything in your life that feels good. And we can relate this back here to Venus, right? What feels good, what feels like it evokes a sense of like beauty, like what feels beautiful. And I'm not talking about surface beauty, I'm talking about like beauty. It can be art, it can be nature, it can be anything, right? Move towards the things that open you up, that have you feel like you can unfurl in this world, right? The things that feel pleasant and that, you know, are pleasurable to our senses. The things that you value, right? Looking at the things that you value and like that you truly, truly value that feel good to you. Move in that direction. I feel like that's a really deep message that's coming through here, and it's really beautiful. I really love this. So and in fact I might even say that so far this might be my favorite reading of all of the signs so far. So let's take also a look at how we can work with this waxing energy. And again, you know, yes, it is different this particular time, right? This new moon solar eclipse and Mercury retrograde to the full moon, to this next full moon during this approximate 2-week period where we're in that waxing building phase. So the way in which you build and plant seeds that, you know, is going to look different. Here's one thing I want to say really quickly, and I'm saying this in every one of my videos, is this is not a time that I would recommend for doing your normal like new moon setting intentions or like creating a vision boards, doing ritual, doing ceremony, any of those kinds of things that you would normally do for the new moon to full moon phase. This would not be that time. I would recommend like giving yourself a few days, maybe until like the weekend after, I know it's after Mercury goes retrograde. Like, don't be afraid of Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde, think about Mercury retrograde as just like slowing things down when it comes to communication, commerce, technology, travel, like things like that. It's really just slowing down so that you can like double, triple check, like, you know, make sure that it's in alignment, revisit, review, revise. And so when it comes to what you're building and you're really putting your intention into, make sure that you're doing it with like a lot of intention and with a lot of clarity. And during the time where we have the light being eclipsed, during eclipses, and when the light is being eclipsed, it creates this chaotic vacuum of energies that are swirling around, and you cannot control chaos. So it is not a time to do magic, set intentions, do a ritual, or anything like that. Anyone that thinks that they can control chaos is like, that comes from a very shadowy egoic place. I don't bash the ego, but like the shadow aspect, that's like a shadow aspect. So this is not a time to like force your way through. I would say that that's not going to work well for your manifestations anyways, right? So I would give it a little bit of time before you kind of step into doing that type of work for yourself. So how can you though work with this? Because we can still work with the waxing energy. So what is being pointed out to you in terms of what you need to work on putting your time, energy, attention into, and seeding and growing going forward? And what we have here is the Queen of Laurels. I love this. This is definitely, I feel like, also very much in line with the Venusian kind of vibe, right? Queen of Laurels reminds me a little bit of the Empress card, which is also ruled by Venus. And this is really about that grounded, nourishing, nurturing home and hearth and stability and groundedness, right? This is a time for you, Sagittarius, to focus on, how can you create and anchor into a grounded place of stability and safety, one that feels unshakable. Like, how can you start to build towards that, right? Remember, we're in a waxing phase. This is the earth suit in the laurels. We're building towards something. So, and especially when it comes to the queen, she's like a mother almost. She's very nourishing and very nurturing, knows how to create a home environment that feels like sanctuary, right? And so these are the themes to focus on. Where can you create this energy in your life? Where is that? If it's your home life, if it's your work life, if it's both, if it's relationships, like this is the energy to go forward with creating, right? That anchor into that kind of experience. Think about that. And as it relates to Venus, right? We can see the connection coming back to Venus again with like the aesthetics, right? A sanctuary that feels aesthetically beautiful and pleasing, with like pleasing the senses, building upon things that you value. And really moving into that space, moving from there. And the spiritual advice that we actually have coming through with that, as far as like what would be assistive in doing this, would be the Six of Coins. The Six of Coins is definitely about, like, we see more earth coming through right here, right? The pentacles, the laurels, the earth, like these are the pentacles and the laurels and the coins. These are all earth suit, right? And so this has to do with, like, the earth suit has to do with our values, with our money, with, again, values, money, with the world of the tangible. And with the Six of Coins, this is saying, like, is it reciprocal in your life where you are, like, is it helping to build this kind of grounded stability and what feels nourishing and nurturing to you in your life, with the people in your life, with the projects, with what you're committed to, with what you're putting your time, energy, and attention to? Is the energy a balance of give and take with either financial resources, with, like, remember, when we are talking about this particular card, we're not just talking about finances. We could be talking about, other things like time, energy, and attention. We give and we take with our time, energy, and attention. Like, we pay with that. So make sure that you are paying attention to the conversations that you have, the friendships, the people that you connect with, the partnerships that you have, the people that you work with, the projects that you're working on that you've committed to, and notice, like, where do you feel like maybe you're overgiving, or like you're even taking too much and you need to balance that out by contributing more, by being more present. So find where that is in your life to help establish this kind of stability and grounded, like, balanced kind of beautiful space. I'm really loving this, actually, Sagittarius. I don't feel like I need to pull any extra cards. This feels really amazing. So I would say if you're looking to kind of like get a little bit more of the story, you can look at your April reading for Sagittarius, and I'll have that here on the screen. Definitely like, subscribe. It helps the channel, helps while I'm building this, but also so you don't miss out on any of the videos as I release them. And also I have some cool stuff that I have planned for later on this year. So thanks for being here. Thanks for your support. I hope this was helpful. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.